and they stopped it. Okay, these are different times. These are different times, which is why Christine Yoon is here. How many people heard the news today that the president of El Salvador was in the Oval Office?
Yep.
And we know that Kilmar Abrego was like abducted, was taken out of this country illegally because he had a legal right to be here. A court had said that he had a legal right to be here. He had permission. Now the other side wants to tell you he's a criminal, but he has no crime. He was not accused of crime. He was not convicted of a crime. They just are trying to look for people to put on a poster board to show they're strong people. But the Supreme Court has said, you got to bring them home. And the president of El Salvador sat in the Oval Office today, and he said he's not going to bring them back. And let me tell you, President Trump should be embarrassed. You know why? Because he says he's the strongest president, the strongest man, and he's supposedly the negotiator of these deals, and he can't get one guy who they accidentally deported. He should be ashamed of himself that a foreign president came into that Oval Office and basically said no in his face. But you know what? Our president likes dictators because he's trying to be a dictator himself. And that is why he likes dictators. So what has happened and what is happening on the immigration front is wrong. Look, I agree, if you are a violent criminal and you're convicted, you should be deported. There is nobody who disagrees with you. Okay? That's not what's happening. They're finding our neighbors and our friends and people who've been here for years. They're even doing racial profiling on the streets. You've seen them around Southgate, haven't you? More ICE, even Linwood. Now, we haven't heard that they've made any arrests in some of the places we've seen, but they are targeting folks, and it's causing real fear in our community. And I wish I had a better answer for you, because the best thing I can tell you is if you see it happening, call my office, and if I'm here, I will go down and do what I can, collect the stories and tell the stories of the people, our neighbors and our friends that are being deported without cause, without even a warrant. Because we have to stand up for our friends and our neighbors. We cannot allow to be pushed around like this. And so Christine is an immigration attorney with legal aid, and she's here to provide any kind of thoughts, advice, and of course, give out the information of legal aid to people who might need your help. Christine?
I'm so glad to be here and so glad to see so many of you here. I'm Christine Yoon. I'm an immigration attorney with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. We're a nonprofit that serves the greater Los Angeles community. We have 5 community offices and cover immigration, family law, government benefits issues, and a whole host of different things. So if you think that you can use our services, you can go to our website, lafla.org, and see if you can use our services. As the Congresswoman was highlighting, there are a lot of new policies and changes in the laws that are causing a lot of anxiety and fear and uncertainty for our clients. And so part of my job is to keep up to date and advise my clients and people in the community about these changes and how that might affect them. And so a couple of the things that have come up, aside from what Congresswoman has brought up, are termination of parole, temporary protected status for certain countries, a registration requirement for immigrants, extension of expedited removal, and it's generally a lot more focused on different enforcement tools and more, like a lot of focus on that and more risks to the people in our community. And so I'm so glad to be here and to provide whatever insight that I can.
Thank you, Christine. Let's give her a round of applause. Now, before we move on from immigration, because we're going to talk about Social Security and we'll talk about taxes or tariffs in a second, and then we're going to do open questions. Did anybody hear that ICE tried to do schools to find a student? How old was the student? Was he like in 1 K through 6 or something?
He was elementary school.
Very young.
Elementary.
Now, I happen to have done a town hall with the superintendent of the LA Unified School District, and he was strong. He said, we are not gonna let them come in, we're gonna protect our students, and they held up. When they went to the school, they demanded to see a warrant, they didn't get the warrant, and they didn't hand over the kids. So thank God that we had a system that worked. So that system only works if our local elected folks are working closely with school boards and making sure they're setting very clear policy and they're sticking to their guns. So let me introduce a few of our local elected officials that are here today. We got Southgate Councilmember Al Rios. Al. Southgate Councilmember Gil Hurtado. Gil, is Gil still here? He's in the back. Who also runs the softball out here in Southgate. We have the city manager, Rob Houston. Rob, are you here? Rob's in the back. We have Parks Director Steve Costley, who's also here from Southgate. And we have Southgate Police Chief Darren Arakawa. Darren, are you here? Chief, thank you, Chief. And a Dodger fan, as I remember. Me too. They were just at the White House. Another story. Another story. I had to go support our Dodgers, okay? All right. And we have the Southgate Chamber Director, Ana Elizarias. I'm sure I said that wrong. And of course, City of Linwood Council Member Lorraine Avila Moore. Where are you, Councilwoman? Thank you. Let me tell you why it's really important that they raised their hand and they recognized. Let me tell you why. Because if you live in Southgate or Linwood and you have a tree that needs to be cut, go talk to them. That's a local issue. If you have a pothole in your street, that's not us on the federal government, that's them. Go talk to them. Okay? If they don't respond, call my office, we'll call and make sure they respond. They're very busy too. Okay? But there's local issues and then there's federal. I'm here to talk about the federal big issues, okay? We do Social Security, we do Medicare, we do immigration. Everything that you see, the chaos happening in the White House, that's the crap I'm dealing with right now. Okay, and it's you having stress and anxiety. Is anybody here stressed and anxious? Yes, I feel you. I'm dying. I feel you. I have that stress and anxiety too, which is number one why we need to invest in more mental health services.
Amen to that.
Because right now, this country needs as much support we can help, and our mental health is just as important as our physical health because we know it has an impact. Okay, let's talk for a little bit about Social Security. Yeah. Okay? Hands off of Social Security, right? Your Social Security, you worked hard for it, right? Yeah. It's your money, right? Yeah. So why in the hell do they want to take your money away? Right. We have to say no and we have to stop it. Folks, this is serious business. Worked hard to pay into the systems. And it's their social safety net. It's not a giveaway. You worked for it. You deserve it. It needs to be there. What is happening now, and you may have already experienced it, is they are cutting staff at Social Security. They are closing offices down. Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they're trying to save money, and they're not saving money. What they're going to do is they're going to cause delays. We already seen the delays in customer service. Some people have been on the phone for hours, and then when somebody finally comes on, what happens? They hang up.
Exactly.
Who has time to sit on the phone for hours? They want us to go work, and then they think we have these hours to sit there. It also could result in delays in checks. That is a real concern. You know what the Trump administration official said? He said, well, my mom would be fine if she didn't get her Social Security check. I don't know about you, can you do without Social Security check? Right. My mother could not. As a matter of fact, I pay her bills. My mom is 84, she has Alzheimer's. She can't pay her bills anymore. And I can't pay her bills until her Social Security check comes in because she's living paycheck to paycheck. Does anybody here rely so much on that check that you can wait? And this is what I'm talking about. The people who are saying this are the billionaires and the millionaires. They're not us. So we have to make sure, number one, you're sharing your story about the importance of what Social Security means for you, because we need to humanize it. It's not somebody else, it's not some other person in some other place. It's us, it's every one of us. Okay, now we are going to have to make sure to show up to vote against any proposal. We're gonna have to make sure that we're highlighting what they're trying to do, because they won't even show up to a town hall because they don't want to hear their constituents tell them to keep their hands off Social Security. Okay, but you probably have friends, neighbors, people who live in some of these states, right? I can't tell you to call them, to call their congressperson. I'm not allowed to do that. Okay, so use your judgment on how you can effectuate change, okay, and making sure we're doing that all we can. All right, then let's talk for a minute about the word tariffs. I don't like the word tariffs because some people don't know the word tariffs. Does anybody here want to tell me what a tariff might be? It's a tax. That's exactly right. A tariff is a tax. Now, some people say some tariffs are good. But you know what, right now? What this president is doing is he's putting a tax on everything, on every country, even our friends and our allies, even including Mexico, to make everything more expensive. Do you remember when this president said he was going to bring prices down on day one? What a crock of bullshit that was, right? Because day one, prices are going up. And why are they going up? Well, because of these tariffs. You're going to see things like the price of the shoes, sneakers, going up by $90 a pair. You know, we get a lot of things that come from China. We get a lot of things that come from all these countries. To where, yeah, his hat, it comes from China. That's a good point. I saw that the other day. Right? I don't know about you, but the Trump tariffs are a tax that will cost families about $4,700 a year. I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that extra money just to give so that he can raise money to give a tax cut to his billionaire friends so they can book more private jets. I don't know. Now, this is also hurting our small businesses, so I'm glad the Chamber of Commerce is here. We have been hearing from businesses that their cost is going up, that they don't know if they can withstand the increase in price, whether they're going to absorb it, whether they're going to give it off to the consumer. But it's hurting working families. It's hurting all of us. So this is all causing a lot of chaos, and we know some of you may not have any money in the stock market. I don't have any money in the stock market, but you might have a retirement account. And if you were getting ready to retire and and those accounts are tanking, you may not have 20 years for that market to recover.
That's a fact.
And so this is hurting working, real people. In the meantime, he told all his rich friends to go buy the stocks when they were cheap. And they started buying them before he made the announcement that they were going to undo the tariffs temporarily. And then people made all kinds of money, especially it's only the people who bought when they were really down. So many concerns and so many things. Okay, I'm going to stop talking because we'll be here all night. And I want to hear from you. And I want to hear your questions and I want to hear your comments. Let me start with something very important. I cannot arrest Donald Trump. As much as you all want me to, as much as I wish I could, I don't have the power to arrest Donald Trump. I don't have the power to arrest Elon Musk either. I don't have that power. The only person who can arrest people is our chief of police and the police in this room, and they can't even go do it, okay? So I can't do that. So one of the things House Democrats have done, we've partnered up with organizations to do litigation because part of it has been stopping them through the courts. We have to make sure to keep up the public pressure because again, the power is in the people. I single-handedly need you all behind me when we go fight. I said, I'm willing to get arrested. I'm willing to get arrested. Yes, thank you. We'll get arrested together. But it's really going to take the mass of people and the outcry really to change what is happening. And we're starting to see some people be a little squeamish, the farmers in the Republican parts of the country saying, I'm being hurt. So we're hearing, they're going to give you some carve-outs for certain people. That is not the way we should work. We shouldn't just say, okay, we're going to save these people, but we're going to hurt these people. And so that is not the way we should do this. Okay, so we're going to start with questions. And remember, we have two wonderful panelists here tonight, Dr. Shapiro and Christine Yoon. They can take questions too. They can answer your questions. All right, so I'm going to start with a question for the panelists that was pre-submitted. Do we have Ernesto Escobar from Linwood here? Okay, I saw somebody in the audience that I need to recognize, and I was just confirming, my eyes weren't deceiving me because I have contact lenses. I see Councilmember Munoz from Linwood. Thank you for being here, Councilmember. Remember, if you're potholes, talk to him on the local stuff. Okay, Ernesto Escobar from Linwood, are you here? I don't see him here. People submit questions and then they don't show up. Okay, I'm gonna ask this question anyways because we had teed it up for our guest. The question was, are immigrants safer in California than in any other state, given the mass deportations under Trump's administration? So, Christine, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So California, like a couple other states, has state laws that limit local and state cooperation with federal ICE enforcement. And so one of the common ways that people can get caught up in the immigration removal system is by getting picked up in an unrelated criminal pickup. And that's one of the common ways that people get routed in. And so the California state laws aim to limit that for certain, for minor offenses. And so to cut off one of those pipelines to some extent. And so there are these protections in California that protect people, but that doesn't quite override federal immigration law. So it is safer in some ways, but people can still get deported. There's still a risk for non-citizens in the community.
So bottom line is, we have more protections in California, but if you have a federal immigration officer, they could go and talk to people on the street. Now, this is where it's really important that you know your rights, right? And so if somebody's approached, Christine, do they need to give their name and do they have to show an ID?
No, so everyone, regardless of whether you're a citizen or a non-citizen, whatever your immigration status is, you have the right to remain silent. And so if you're approached by a law enforcement officer on the street, you can ask them, am I under arrest? And if they say no, then you can ask, can I leave? And then if they say yes, then calmly leave. And if you are under arrest, you have the right to say, I want to assert my right to remain silent. And so, regardless of your citizenship status, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse consent to a search of yourself or your home or your car. And that goes for everyone.
And if there's a knock at your door, you don't have to open the door. You do not have to open the door. Okay, so I see a hand over there. Is that an immigration-related hand? Okay, what's your question?
A student that was deported, he was just picked up off the street. They didn't ask her to. They just grabbed her and then deported her. So the issue right now is, do immigrants have habeas corpus rights?
Do immigrants what?
Habeas corpus rights.
Do immigrants have habeas corpus rights?
So immigrants, so people with a green card or different kinds of status, they do have right to due process and to have a hearing before an immigration judge. And so, for example, people with green cards, an immigration judge is the one who can make a decision about whether that can be taken away. And so there are these rights that people have, and it's an ongoing issue that's being litigated in the courts right now.
And let me tell you, have a plan with your family. Have a plan with your family. If you get picked up, who are you gonna call? You all should have like a lawyer or like a pro bono service, okay? Because what happened to Kilmar, they didn't even give him the due process and he had a right to be here. Okay, so have a plan, know where your loved one is, and and know your rights. I think those are the best things that I can say. Okay, we are going to see, is Lily Martinez here? Lily, you're here from Paramount. Do you want to ask a question or you want me to ask your question for you? I'll ask your question. Okay, Lily from Paramount, his question is, what is being done to protect against cuts to Medicaid? And should community health centers be concerned about the ability to continue providing health care to those who need it most? So I'm going to start by talking about cuts to Medicaid, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shapiro to talk about concerns that community health centers might have, and who will be affected the most. Okay. Number one, what's being done to protect against Medicaid? We're having days of actions across the country to inform people. Number one, inform people about Medicaid. I've had people tell me before, I don't get Medicaid. Nobody I know is on Medicaid. So why do I care? We need to educate people why they should care about Medicaid. Because once they find out, they are going to help partner with us and build this coalition on fighting against it. Now, again, I can't tell you enough, it's the power of people and communities. There are Republicans in red Alabama and red West Virginia, actually in much higher rates of people who are on Medicaid. They need to be told the truth because they're being lied to, and they're being told Medicaid is hands off, like they're not gonna touch it because the math doesn't add up. We have to give them the facts. So I think part of it is we are going across the country. We're having a Medicaid Day of Action. We're telling the press, so the press will report about it. You need to also help us. How? When you hear the misinformation and the disinformation, even within your own families. I've had people tell me, oh, I got a text message from my 23-year-old kid who saw something on TikTok that says this isn't gonna happen. You have to push back, and you've got to tell people to correct the misinformation and the disinformation, right? We have to put the pressure on in the legislature to tell the stories. And if we can collect stories from constituents in Republican areas, I think those are powerful stories to also share, to continue that pressure. And let me tell you, like, the fact that Republicans are saying we're not gonna touch Medicaid, they know it's unpopular. They know it's unpopular, which is why they don't want to say anything right now. But we've got to keep telling the story. We've got to keep it out there. Polling and the public is with us. We just got to keep it up. The moment that we are silent, the moment that we stop saying anything, people are going to say, you see, nobody cares. It's okay. So we can't let that happen. We have to continue the fight. Okay, so Dr. Shapiro, tell us about if community health centers should be concerned, and who's impacted at the community health centers.
Gladly. I have two questions before I actually do the answer. Has anybody gone to a doctor? Second one, and this is a hard one, and I need your honesty. Are you happy every time that you go there? Yeah. I'm saying, like, and that's normal, right? But we have a choice on a place that we know that they were going to be taking care of us. The community clinics across the country serve a big chunk. It's more than 35 million people around the country. We are there on the best days in the lives of someone that's actually being born. And sometimes we are on those terrifying moments. But when I go to my community clinic, I do feel that it's a family. Usually they understand my language, they understand my culture, they understand a lot of the aspects, and they try to make it easier for me and my family. Because they know that, when I see a patient, I know that they are having 2 or 3 jobs. I know that they're running around, and there's probably kids, family members, and a lot of things around them. Now, try to unplug that from your life. Getting sick one day, when your kid actually has a fever and you do not know where to go. When you get somewhere and they do not understand your cultural language, or simply they're just doing the movements. Right now, as community clinics, and many of us across the, and I'm going to quote the National Association of Community Health Clinics across the country, some clinics depend 80 or 90% of Medicaid patients to be there. Right now, that a lot of the rural clinics, and actually here in LA also, a lot of the community clinics and also hospitals are struggling. Then I'm deeply afraid that this will create a collapse, first in our health, second on our healthcare system, where I knew that I could go to urgent care or ER, some work that actually they would be taking care of me and my family. The third one, everything else that will happen when we unplug the doctors, nurses, the work, everybody that is working around the system. And it will be a deeply sad moment where there will be a void there for all of us, that we'll have higher asthma, higher cancer, higher problems. Right now we're hearing what's happening in Texas with all the infections that are growing up there.
Yep.
We'll probably have more because we will not have a way to defend ourselves.
Thank you. Okay, I have a next question that was submitted on a card. Irma Mendez. Irma, are you here, Irma? Irma? You want a question or you want me to read it? I'll read it, okay. It says, what measures, actions, pressures are our legislators, Democrats taking to push back on the Trump MAGA agenda? Is there a plan for the midterm elections? And how will the 2026 midterm elections help stop Trump? So there's a few things that we're doing. I mentioned some of them. We're organizing in our communities. We're organizing across the country and going to different parts of the country. As I mentioned, I will be going on Wednesday to Ken Calvert's district, which is a Republican district, and I'll be having a town hall there with one of our local elected officials over there, since they won't. We have to do that because we need to make sure their constituents hear the information, they hear the truth, and that's going to get them, if they're worried about it, to make calls or to put more pressure on their own congresspeople. The first step is we're organizing in our communities. We're doing these day of actions to make sure we're highlighting the cuts, we're highlighting the harm and who can be heard and how. House Democrats have been voting no against these Republican bills that want to cut things like Medicaid and to SNAP. And we are also partnering up. We have a litigation, we have a whole litigation task force, partnering up with organizations. Sometimes we are filing lawsuits where we have standing, and other times we're joining other organizations to push their lawsuits and partnering up together. There's also something called amicus briefs, which is like friends of the courts briefs. But the courts are another avenue that we're also taking. And then there's the media. There is the power of the press and the media to tell the story. We just need the media who's going to tell the story. Not the media that's going to back down because the president says you better call it the Gulf of this instead of the Gulf of Mexico, right? And then kicks them out. We need the media to report the facts. Now, not all news outlets are actually giving you the truth. I'm not here to tell you which ones are and which ones are not. But I invite you to go do your fact checking to make sure you're getting the right information. Okay, so why don't we open it up to some questions in the audience. I know some people submitted cards, but we've got about 15, 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure we have some folks from here. So do we have a microphone that we're handing out? The microphone's in the middle. Okay, I see Why don't we take like one in the front and then we'll do one in the back over there? So why don't you come on over here? I see a hand.
Good evening, Ms. Barragan and everybody else here. My name is Mayra Castañeda. I'm here not only as a constituent, I'm also here as a healthcare worker for your community at St. Francis Medical Center, Trauma. And I'm also a member of SEIU UHW. And so what we've been doing is we've also been holding rallies at districts where Republicans, that's their districts.
Mhm.
And we've been doing what we call die-ins, where people are pretty much laying in blood, and we're trying to bring as much attention to these districts so that people understand exactly what you just said. Is there anything else that we can do to help support and stop the hands-off Social Security and Medicare? And I also want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. You're one of the strongest supporters. I see you on TikTok, on the news. Thank you for representing us.
Thank you, Myra, for your work. During COVID, Myra, we were protesting together at a hospital in Linwood when they were trying to make nurses who had COVID go to work. It was outrageous. And, sometimes you got to stand up. You got to stand with the people. And you got to say, this is wrong, and we're going to stand with them. And at the end of the day, the healthcare workers prevail, so thank you. Look, what you're doing is on the right track. That's exactly what we need. We need to bring attention. We need to have our voices heard. We need to speak up. We need to speak out. We need to call our friends and our neighbors. We have to keep up that public pressure, and that public pressure matters. I can tell you in my district, every day, I look at the call logs of what people call in to say. And I see a whole bunch of different things. That's why I tell you I can't arrest the president, because it's in the call logs. So people will say arrest him. The other thing I see in the logs is impeach the president. Yeah. Now the power to impeach lays with the Congress, and the power the party in power will decide whether they allow it to move forward or not. They're still talking about the last president. They're still talking about, his son. They are not focused on what they should be focused on, which is bringing prices down, which is making sure people have access to health care, which is what we're trying to do, expand access to health care, bring down prescription drug prices, make housing more affordable. All of these things are only making costs go up. So please continue the work you're doing. Make sure we get communities to turn out. Many people call and say, what can we do? We'd have to hold a political meeting to kind of go through all the different things that we could talk about that I can't do in an official event like today. But you get the idea of kind of what we need to do. We really need the power of people behind us in this effort. Okay, I saw a gentleman over here, I think. What's your name?
My name is Eduardo Alvarado.
Okay.
And first of all, excuse me, I want to thank you already, because you, ma'am, and your staff helped me get some records for my twin brother a couple of years ago. And you guys were very, very fast in what I was asking you to do.
Thank you.
My question now is, I need to see you step sometime later on, because I need a letter from the Veterans Administration stating that I am 100% disabled, and so I can take it to the assessor's office, so I don't have to pay taxes. That's one of them. The other one, I have a 19-year-old young lady that is nonverbal autistic, and my daughter is having problems because they want to take it away her benefits, and she doesn't know. She's nonverbal. She does not understand what's going on. And obviously, there's a lot of pressure for my daughter. So if there's anything that I can do, or that you or your staff can do to help us, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, that is a really good segue If you are a member of my staff, from my chief of staff who's here from Washington to my deputy who's here from Washington, if you're a member of my staff, raise your hand. Okay, first of all, let's give them a round of applause. They basically do all the work here in the district when I'm gone, and I'm gone a lot because we're in Washington fighting or traveling the country. They do constituent services along with me. We work together on this. And I failed to mention that at the outset. But constituent services is what we do. We're going to get your information. We will reach out to you to see how we can be helpful in getting you that letter and doing what we can. So constituent services, so you know anything about Social Security, Medicare, IRS. We one time had a woman come to us and say that she got a letter in the mail that said she owed $45,000 in taxes. And then she said, there's no way I could owe this. I've never made this much money to owe this. Well, what happened was that during the mortgage foreclosure crisis, she lost her home in a foreclosure. And the bank wrote that off, the entire mortgage amount. And she didn't file taxes that year because she lost all this money, not realizing she had to file the taxes to show that she lost all the money. So they thought that she made all that money. So she had to file a tax return from 10 years ago. And the IRS, we worked with them, they turned the case around. And then I said, now go give her all the money you took away from her Social Security check, because they were garnishing her checks. And so we got her money back. Now that's a good, positive story. They don't all turn out that way. Some people really owe the money. But you could call our office if there's something you think we can help with. If you have a local issue, you could call our office too. We will route it to the local person as well. Okay, let's see. Who did I see in the back? Was it over here? I'm trying to remember. I can only remember so much. And we'll come back to this side over here. And then we have a gentle lady in the front row.
Hi, thanks for your time. My name is Andrew Puente. I'm from Paramount. So I have a statement of support that kind of leads into a question, if that's okay. So the Democrat-led California Latino Legislative Caucus has introduced 4 bills since December that would offer greater protections for our immigrant neighbors in the face of Trump's mass deportation program, including Senate Bills 48 and 98, as well as Assembly Bills 421 and 1261. Now, I know you served as chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus in the 118th, so my question for you, Congresswoman, is there currently or are there plans for future collaboration between the 2 caucuses or between your office and state legislators as it relates to public messaging and support for state legislation, considering the significant roadblocks that you're facing at the federal level? It seems like working closely with Sacramento would be the best way of helping to protect your constituents until midterms.
So the question really boils down to, do I work with the California legislators on California legislation? The reality is not a lot, because they're so kind of different. Now, sometimes we will get requests to say, will you endorse this bill? Will you support this bill? Then my staff will have to go look at it, the implications, and then sometimes we will do something like that. But our focus has really been on the federal front, on what we can do. Many times, our state legislators are calling us and saying, can you fight to protect the funds that we're getting from the federal government? Because if we don't, we're gonna have to start cutting state programs because it impacts the budget. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus, which I used to chair, as you mentioned in the last Congress, is really coalescing together more on some of the national issues like immigration. We just held a press conference to bring attention to Kilmar and his unjust deportation, calling that they bring him back. We have done things with some local folks, not a ton. We'd be happy to look at anything, but for us, it's been a more of a federal focus. But again, we have looked at some state legislative issues. We just don't have any power there. So our power is in the U.S. Congress, which is why our fight is to be in the power in the party in power again. And I failed to talk about that second point to the question. The only way that you have the biggest check on this administration is if Democrats are in power in the House and in the Senate. Because then we have the power of the subpoena. We could call in a subpoena a cabinet secretary and force them to answer questions and force them to tell us what they're doing. We can't do that now because Republicans are too afraid. They don't want to call anybody in. They don't even want to say somebody's wrong because they're afraid they're going to be targeted by the president or his little friend, Elon Musk, who has billions of dollars to spend to run a campaign against them. So they're all deathly afraid of anything. So that's kind of been where our focus is, but I'm happy to look at anything if somebody wants to send it to our office. We, by the way, on Wednesday, my town hall in Ken Calvert's district is with a California legislator, Sabrina Cervantes, who used to be the chair of the Hispanic caucus in the assembly. So maybe you could say we're working together on that front. But there is, we'll work with anybody to be helpful. I just don't have a lot of power in the California legislature. My power is the people and the power in the Congress, and that's what we do. But we go to all districts, and that's where sometimes we do partner up with the state officials. Okay, so I can't talk too much about the midterms because it's political. But what I can tell you is, it is the power, the party in power gets to decide what vote even comes to the House floor. So let's say that let's say we introduce the articles of impeachment, okay? Because everybody seems to like that idea. If we have a party that is willing, the party in power is willing to put that to a vote, then you would get a vote on that. Republicans aren't going to do that. They're over there kissing his butt. They're not going to challenge what he's doing. They're actually supporting the tariffs and the taxes on people. They're saying it's going to hurt for a little while. You're going to pay more money right now. Just wait. I don't know how long you can wait, but they told us they were going to bring those prices down on day one, and that's what I expect, and that's what they should be doing. So the party in power matters a lot because of that. I'm going to tell you this quick story. It's not about Social Security or Medicare, but I'm going to tell you this quick story. Okay, in the U.S. Congress, you have to be there in person to vote on a piece of legislation. Now, if you're a pregnant woman and your doctor says you cannot travel, then you can't vote because you can't get on a plane while you're pregnant. Or if you just gave birth to a baby, you also can't get on a plane, right? So there was a bill that says if you're a pregnant woman or you're a new dad, that you should be able to vote by proxy. That means somebody will vote for you. You tell them how to vote, and they will register your vote in the House on the floor. It's verbal. It's all totally transparent. Everybody knows. By the way, we did this during COVID, and the Speaker of the House, his name is Mike Johnson, he voted by proxy too. Okay, now he's saying it's unconstitutional. Well, it wasn't unconstitutional when he was doing it. But he doesn't want pregnant women to do it, and he doesn't want dads that are new dads to be able to do this. But why am I telling you the story? Because we had 12 Republicans who said, we're supposed to be the party of family values. We're supposed to be helping families. We want parents to have their parents there when they're newborns to bond with their child. We had 12 Republicans willing to support Democrats to get this bill across the finish line. And you know what happened? They got punished. They got punished, and they turned around and they stopped it all from happening. And then the Speaker couldn't stop his own people in the House. He couldn't stop the Republicans. You know what he did? He picked up the phone and he called Donald Trump. And he told Donald Trump, I need your help. I need you to stop this from happening. That's how weak the Speaker of the House is. Totally weak sauce, okay? He can't get his people to do folks, but this is where the bullying president picks up the phone or starts to threaten people to get this stuff done. And this is just an example of how it's challenging on the legislative front to get the things through, because we don't have Republicans who are willing to do it. If they are, they're being punished. Okay, so I just give you that example to tell you this seems like common sense, but won't get done because now this threat is there. Okay, I saw a hand here, and I saw this young lady over here. Why don't we go to those two, and then we'll probably can do one more question, and we'll have to wrap. And remember, we have our wonderful panelists here who can answer questions as well.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Lourdes Vernis. Soy promotora comunitaria del Departamento de Salud Mental. Precisamente veo que todos sus temas son muy importantes en lo que es compartir recursos y conexiones, pero algo que sí le pediría es si puede usted crear o fomentar más lo que es recursos y programas para salud mental, porque como sabemos la comunidad está muy afectada, sobre todo en la parte de migración, y quisiera hacer esa petición. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Let me translate. For those who understood her, yeah, that deserved a round of applause. Let me translate for those who don't speak Spanish. She is a promotora. She goes into the communities, and she's like a trusted individual who helps educate people and fights for things like mental health services for our communities. And so her question was to put more of a shine a light on the importance of them, and then to fight to protect mental health services in our community and expand them. And let me say, gracias, gracias, gracias. I promise you she was not a plant, right? I promise you she was not a plant. I promise you that this is something that I mentioned in passing briefly. This is a serious issue. This is very serious. Everything is on the chopping block, everything. Healthcare, mental health services, these are services that we all rely upon. I mean, we're talking about our veterans aren't even on the chopping block. Veterans are being laid off. Federal workers are being laid off. That's hurting services. What happened to taking care of our veterans when we got home? When they got home, making sure they had a job. Veterans are some of the top users of mental health services. But we also know that mental health services also help keep people off the streets, and sometimes people who are unhoused need those mental health services. So we need to fight to protect these, and this is something that I am completely committed on doing. So thank you for that. I will tell you it's an uphill challenge because they're looking for anything to cut. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, you know, in our community, our Latino community, sometimes people said, oh, well, if I can't feel the pain and touch it, it must not be there. It was like a really bad stigma. By the way, they even laid off people at the suicide hotline. Okay? I can't make this stuff up, guys. This is the values of this party in power. They don't value the investment in mental health services, but we do. And so House Democrats are fighting to make sure we're not only trying to protect those programs, but trying to expand them, because that is definitely what we need. What do we do? Well, I've said it a million times tonight for what can be done and what I can't say in an official setting. Okay, it's public pressure, it's speaking out, it's writing op-eds, it's protesting. If you know people in other parts of the country that have members that don't care about them, they can call and express their views and how they feel. It's really public sentiment. It's sharing stories of what's at stake also matters. Because sometimes, you know, the news will cover a story and then people see it. And then people get outraged from the story and say, this is unjust, this shouldn't be happening. And then you have people speaking out and people speaking up. And so we've got to continue that. We've got to continue that pressure. You know, the other thing is, you got to elect people who share your values. And that is what happens. The party in power, by the way, the budget is a statement of your values. What you're fighting for or not is a statement of your values. And you can see where your elected officials are by looking and seeing how they vote and how they don't vote, who they're fighting to protect and who they're not fighting to protect. Okay, everybody deserves protection, that's right. Okay, we have a question in the front. Okay, we have the young lady in the front row. Where are you from again?
Paramount.
She came from Paramount.
How many of us are on Social Security? How many?
How many what?
How many of us are on Social Security?
How many of you are on Social Security?
So, I heard what you said about the Republicans versus the Democrats, right? And the majority rules, right? So, however, is there a way that we can find a law firm that we can do a petition, a class action lawsuit? Because I've been on workman's comp for 6 years. I have no money with Social Security, that's it. If they come my Social Security, I'm gonna have to do something ridiculous. I don't want to, because I have family. Understand, how can we rectify this situation and do some kind of class action lawsuit against Trump and Musk, and the list goes on and on and on and on? Because I don't know about you guys, I cannot afford to lose one dime, period. I have a mortgage, I have a cannot. It infuriates me to no end, to no degree, to know that this man, this idiot, whatever his name is, TRUM, whatever, that he has the power to be such a menace to our society. I mean, there's got to be some way that we can get back this Social Security situation, period.
Well, thank you for the question. I will have to circle back with our litigation task force to see if there's outstanding lawsuits on Social Security. Here's the problem, folks. The problem is that the Congress has the power to pass laws that impact Social Security. So the Congress has the power to say, we're going to raise the age, or we're going to change when you're going to actually get your money, or they could raid the account so the money's not available. And that is the danger we have right now, is that the power lies in the Congress. And this is where people and the power of the people to fight back against it and make sure it's not happening is going to be so critically important. Now, I'm on a bill that will expand Social Security and will expand benefits, right? And that's the way we're going. And that is what we are going to fight to do when we're the party in power, okay? Until then, we've got to use the power of people and the mobilization and the organizing and all those things Myra talked about. You know, I'm your congressperson. I'm already fighting for these things, right? You know that. You've seen in my votes. You can see me here today. But there are other people that you probably know who know somebody who's not doing that. So there are other ways in being active, but we will follow up on the litigation to see if there is any litigation front. But the problem again is if you have Congress starting to pass laws and they govern Social Security, that's where the harm lies. And that's why we're fighting so hard against these cuts right now that they're trying to do and this reconciliation bill. Just so everybody knows, usually you need 60 senators to vote for something. When you pass a bill under this process called reconciliation, you only need 50. So this is where it's very dangerous, okay? Yes, it's like a cheating game. And it has to be related to the budget. And we already know this party doesn't follow the law. They cheat. And so we are expecting anything and everything. And we're gonna have to be, we're gonna have to continue the fight to push back against these things. Okay, I think I saw one more hand and then we're gonna have to wrap. So let's see. We'll get the gentleman right there. You're our last question. What is your name, sir?
My name is Sanai Kinfin from Long Beach.
Long Beach?
Yeah, so in February, there was an executive order that went out related to SNAP benefits about immigrant families that are led by undocumented or immigrant families possibly getting their benefits cut. I know that you sit on the subcommittee related to health and energy. Have you seen any movement since February on about if the benefits are being cut? Because I work for a social service agency called the April Parker Foundation, and a lot of our clients are could be potentially impacted by this. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The question is, have we seen any movement in my committee on the cuts to SNAP benefits, in particular to undocumented folks? Is that your question? Is it undocumented folks? Okay, right, because undocumented folks can't get SNAP benefits.
A child of an undocumented person could.
If you're a US citizen child,
Correct.
you have access to those. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, if there's one person in your household who is undocumented, then you don't get it. So even though you have American citizen children or family members in a household, they want to disqualify the whole household. And we have not, yes, they are scumbags. I completely agree because it's really a lack of values. We have not seen the movement in the committee yet, but the only reason we haven't seen it yet is because they want to save that because it's not very popular toward the end, like right before they get something passed, hoping to do it like late at night, sneaking something in, and then try to force a vote on it. But I will say there are some Republicans that are on television that are very forward, and not shy about saying that these are cuts that should be made. Now, what they're saying is these are cuts that are people who are undocumented. But that's not true because you can't get those benefits if you're undocumented. So that's where the misinformation and the disinformation is out there. It is the household. So you might be, again, the child who is a US citizen, and you're getting this benefit and they want to take it away from you because maybe your parents don't have, they're not a US citizen, or maybe they don't have legal status. And that's what they're trying to do. There's no doubt they're coming after everybody, folks. They're coming after undocumented folks. They're coming after our veterans. They're already after them. They're coming after people who have legal status here. This is real, and we are doing what we can, and we're litigating, we're legislating, but we need you and the power of people to continue to be with us and to continue to speak out and to show up and engage just like we did tonight. How many of you people here have never been to a town hall before? That is remarkable. That is remarkable that you showed up tonight, that you said tonight is different, that I'm going to show up, that I'm going to see what I can do, and as Michelle Obama said, do something, right? Do something. And please do not forget to vote. We are guilty of this. We're guilty of this in Southgate. I'm going to tell you this quick story, and then we're going to turn it over to our guests to have a closing statement. When I was running for the Congress, right here in Southgate, I was knocking on doors. And I would knock on a door, and the people would say, oh, I'm with you. I'm going to vote for you in November. I said, wait. There's an election in June. It's called a primary. And I have to make it out of the primary to be one of the top 2 people to be available for you to vote in November for the general. And people said, well, I don't have time to go. I just want to decide who the person is in November. Okay, this is why we need to use the power of your vote. Voting for the people who share your values. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm just telling you, use your vote. We fought so hard to get it, and right now they're trying to take away those rights. If you didn't hear about it, if you're a woman who got married, raise your hand. Okay, and then when you got married, did you change your name to take your husband's name? Okay, well, Republicans are saying if you changed your name, then you have to go get a passport to vote. Yes, because your birth certificate doesn't match anymore your name, so birth certificate's not going to work, and your military ID won't work either, and your tribal ID will not work. You need to go get a passport. Some people can't afford a passport. Some people don't, can't physically go down to get a passport. So at any rate, folks, your voting rights are also at stake. Not to leave it on a sour note or anything, but let me tell you, we cannot be in despair. We have to have hope. We have to do the work. We have to show up. We have to fight back. And you have to continue doing what you're doing. I will continue to fight. I will continue to fight for you, our working class families, our middle class families, not for the billionaires and the millionaires. And let's give one last opportunity for our panelists to say a few words as we wrap tonight. Starting with Christine.
Thank you so much again for coming out. My immigration team works with victims of crime, victims of domestic violence, and other vulnerable populations. So if you or someone in your family or someone around you could benefit from our services, please send them our way, or encourage them to seek advice from a reputable immigration attorney. Too. So I know that sometimes the red cards are targeted to help non-citizens, but they apply to us too, and it's really important for everyone to know their rights and assert them.
Thank you. Dr. Shapiro.
We have heard a couple of times what to do. Having a doctor for almost 18 years, 20 years, working both sides of the border, and I tell you for sure that and we need to start a treatment against fear with a dose of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that truth comes from each of you. We need your stories. I can do so much in a clinic. I can do so much for the community. I'm here because we need your help. We need your stories. We need to tell why this is important for our communities, for the children that we have, or anybody that has a pregnant family member. Because if we don't hear that part and the real impact and why we have, it's not just a number, it's $880 million, it's a random number. But if it's Joe or Maria, if it's my mother, it's my son, it changes the feeling and the way that we can actually connect with people that have that conversation. And we need to start having conversations. We don't need to be afraid. Because if we're afraid of asking questions, if we are afraid of just being on the dark or not doing anything, we know that disinformation and misinformation will start popping up. Then please, if you actually want to help me fight fear against all the stuff that we have, we need that dose of truth that comes from each of you. And thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. And if you are a business owner, if you're with the chamber, you also would be helpful to have a responsibility to speak up for our immigrant communities, our labor, the issues, the important small businesses. We have Council Member Maria del Pilar Avalos, who's joined us. Thank you for being here. Paramount Unified School Board Member Yesenia Correnta, are you here? Gracias, thank you for being here. California Department of Justice External Affairs Manager Eric Boyd. And thank you, Eric. And the Port of Long Beach Government Relations Officer Harry Simergian. Thank you so much for coming. Now, y'all are still in your seats. Nobody's leaving. But we wrap it up, folks. If you didn't get a snack outside, are they still outside? They're still outside. You can grab a snack on your way out. I hope this was helpful. For me, this is about listening to you, hearing your concerns. You can call our office anytime. I read your notes. I read messages you leave. Please be nice to our staff. We have some interns that answer the phone. People call, say mean things. Don't be mean. Be nice. Even if you have a message you disagree with, be nice and share your message. I will read it. But thank you again for coming out. We'll continue to do these town halls. And whatever you do, don't just be silent. This is a time for us to speak out. Thank you again.